Sid Meier's Civilization V. Does it have the most perfect intro to a video game of all time? Hello again, ladies and gents, and welcome to another video game intro review. A little over a month ago, I reviewed the opening scene to Sid Meier's Civilization VI in my journey to find the most perfect intro to a video game. What came from that was one fan requesting that I review more Civ games in preparation for the release of Civilization VII, which is just 1 month away now. So today, we are reviewing Civilization V. Just like all of the Civ games, Civ 5 is a wonderfully put together turn-based strategy game that takes players through all the ages of mankind. There are endless decisions you can make and paths to take in obtaining victory or conquest in this game. While there are mixed reviews about which Civ game takes the cake, many fans of the Civ games agree that Civ 5 is in the discussion of being one of the better games in the franchise. Now, while we would love to review the game as a whole, that is not the purpose of this review. My review is purely based on the opening scene to the game and to simply determine whether the intro is good or not. Sometimes amazing games have the worst of intros, and sometimes the opposite can be true. Our goal here is to find out where the Civ 5 opening scene ranks in terms of the intro. Now, to help in making this decision, we will be looking at 3 specific categories. Those categories are the music or sound, the storytelling, and how captivating as a whole the intro is. We will give all these categories a score out of 10, then add all these scores up to get a final average score. And if there's something extra special about this intro that just doesn't fit into any of these categories, then I will be awarding bonus points as well. So sit back and enjoy another Too True SMEG review. As usual, the first category we'll be looking into is the music. The music starts off well with the deep and low string instrument, which gives off vibes of uncertainty and danger. But then, as the music progresses, we get the violins playing, which gives a lighter tone to the setting. As the old man begins to share his dream of their people's future, the choir kicks in and there's more of an upbeat theme which conveys feelings of epicness and adventure. As the dream ends, the music becomes a bit more calm again throughout the rest of the scene, up until we see the man walk up to the edge of the cliff, revealing a vast valley where his people are settling. Here, the choir slowly crescendos once more into that adventurous theme again, peaking with an epic conclusion. The music here is great, but if I'm being completely honest, I feel like this song could belong in hundreds of other video games. There's nothing particularly magnificent about it that makes it stand out. Sure, it's a great song with fantastic choir in the mix, but again, nothing crazy special. I mean, listen to the opening song of Civ 6's intro and you'll hear the difference between an intro with an original and distinct score and one that is a bit more generic. So while the song is great, it's just a bit on the boring side. So for these reasons, the score we will be giving music is 5.5 out of 10. The best way I can describe the reason for this score is that it's just not a song one would ever immediately associate with Civ 5, nor does it convey or bring out any raw emotions from its listeners, hence the reason for the lower score. Now let's get into the storytelling. What we're looking for in this category is what the story is being told and how well that story is being told, and whether or not the story is interesting enough to make us invest our time into this game. With this intro, we learn pretty quickly that this old man sitting by the fire is the father of this younger man who walks into the tent. We learn that they've just settled into a new area and intend to stay for the long haul. Then, the father begins to share a dream he's had with his son. As the father is narrating his dream about their people creating this great civilization, although through hardship and struggle, we are given a montage of scenes of his dream. We see the Vikings traversing the dangerous seas, the Egyptians constructing the pyramids, and an Islamic-type city with large numbers of people, and then the samurais fighting in battle. Finally, we see the father telling his son that this is his son's future, and that he must be the leader of his people, which subtly conveys to those of us playing the game that we are the leaders and we must decide how we are going to lead our civilization to victory and greatness. The story here is pretty easy to follow and makes a lot of sense. We also know from the scene that his dream is quite literally the future of events to come for mankind. There's really no gaps in this story that make it confusing. It flows pretty well and again, is quite easy to follow. So in terms of a story that makes sense and is easy to follow, Civ 5 would earn an easy 10 out of 10. But what unfortunately must bring the score down some is whether the story being told is interesting for us. My personal opinion, not really. It's just about an old man sharing a dream with his son. Sure, the dream is interesting and exciting, but a story about a father and a son talking beside a fire in a tent isn't a story I'd enjoy watching several times over again. So the total score we would have to give Civ 5 for storytelling is 7 out of 10. It tells a story that flows and makes sense, but is a bit stale. And now finally, how captivating as a whole is the intro? Well, we just finished the storytelling piece and how the story being told was a bit boring, which is kind of a perfect segue into the captivating score. So let's start with how long this intro is. The total length of this intro is a little over 3 minutes long. For the first minute, all we see is the father and son sitting by the campfire. It isn't until 1 minute into this intro that we see the most thrilling and adventurous parts. And frankly, the parts that are tied directly into what we as players of the game are excited to participate in. But the short clips of seeing the Vikings and the battle are only about 50 seconds long, and then we go back to seeing this old man and his son sitting by the fire again. This lasts for another 40 seconds while the father is sharing words of wisdom to his son. Then finally, the son leaves the tent and walks to the edge of the cliff, revealing a beautiful valley with potential to grow and build and expand, ending this scene on a pretty good note. What does hurt this captivating score are all the scenes in the tent though. I'm sorry, but watching and listening to an old man share words of wisdom for a minute and a half is not the best way to captivate an audience, and is a very easy way for players to press the escape key and skip this intro entirely. The pieces of this intro that help in captivating its audience are the short clips of the Vikings, the samurais, and the Egyptians while the father is narrating his dream. And then when we finally see the outside of the tent, we're also curious about what remarkable thing we're going to see at the end, which successfully grasps our attention. To sum up, about half of this intro is quite boring, and the other half ranges from interesting to very interesting. So the score we will have to give the Civ 5 intro for captivating is 5 out of 10. Well, there you have it, the scores for each of the 3 categories. Now before we total up the scores, we will actually be awarding a single bonus point for this intro because the CGI and graphics in this intro are fantastic, almost lifelike in some parts. For context, this game came out 15 years ago, and for a video game company to produce 3 minutes of high quality graphics like this, I'm sure was no easy task at the time. Sure, Avatar came out the year before, and Halo 3 had this truly iconic trailer back in 2007, but cutscenes in games didn't look as clear and crisp on a regular basis like the Civ 5 trailer did back then. It's impressive for its time and honestly still holds up and performs better than many games do today. For these reasons, Civ 5 deserves a bonus point, which brings the final total score to 18.5 out of 30, which averages out to 6.17 out of 10. Not the best score we've ever seen for video games, but it sure won't be the worst score we'll ever see either. So there you have it, a full review of the opening scene to Civilization 5. If you enjoyed this review, please leave a like, or if you disagree with this score or any other aspect, leave a dislike and let me know in the comments why. I'd love to get others' opinions on this and would love to get others' insight on where I might have dropped the ball here and there with this score. If there's other video games, TV shows, or movies with great intros that you'd like to be reviewed in the future, leave a comment and we'll be sure to add those to the list. Anyways, thanks again for sticking around for another Too True SMEG review. Until next time.